A thunderous revelation has just rocked the world of Formula One. It seems that the technical regulations imposed upon the sport may have been purposely crafted to stifle design freedoms. But hold on to your hats, ladies and gents, because this hasn't deterred teams from boldly and recklessly pushing the boundaries of innovation in any way they can. Red Bull in particular has been able to soar above the competition thanks to some cunning brake system tweaks. But here's the kicker. While their rivals are frantically scratching their noggins in search of a solution to catch up with Red Bull, they might just be careening further and further away from the finish line. Listen up, folks, because the world of Formula One just got a whole lot more interesting. Brake systems are the latest playground for teams to show off their skills as they work tirelessly to shave off precious weight, boost heat dissipation, and enhance the car's overall stopping power. And you know who's leading the pack in this tireless pursuit of perfection? None other than Red Bull. They've made some jaw-dropping changes to their brake calipers for 2023, and let me tell you, these incremental gains are sure to add up big time. But here's the kicker. Last year's RB18 brake assembly was a wild ride in and of itself. Red Bull kept refining and tweaking their setup throughout the first half of the season, just to find the perfect solution. And what's more, they were one of the only teams to create a fairing that enclosed the brake disc, effectively isolating it within the larger drum that was required by new regulations, and the arrival of the 18-inch wheel rim. With the new regulations causing a rift between the dimensions of the discs and the rim, Red Bull had to get creative. So they whipped up a fairing that not only bridges a gap, but also keeps the brakes at the perfect temperature for maximum performance. Talk about innovation, am I right? Last year, they tweaked the fairing shape and applied some slick new coatings to optimize its performance. And the caliper wasn't left out of the party either. A new coating was applied to help produce heat transfer. But for the brand new RB19, Red Bull has gone all out with a complete overhaul of the brake assembly design. But do you know what would increase the heat? If you liked and subscribed to our channel right now. Let's continue. The fairing has been supersized and reshaped, while the caliper has undergone some serious weight reduction and cooling improvements. They even increased the size of the central ports to better manage the heat generated by the brake disc's passage through the caliper. And get this, they added a bunch of tiny tubes that act like fins to keep temperatures in check. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie. And they've increased the size of the central ports to let the heat generated by the brake disc's passage through the caliper flow more freely. Plus, they've added an array of small tubes that act like fins to keep the temperature in control. Aston Martin, known for their sleek and speedy vehicles, have taken things up a notch with a complete overhaul of their assembly, including a radical shift in the position of the caliper. And let's not forget the disc fairing solution. They've jumped on that bandwagon too, joining the growing number of teams utilizing this cutting-edge technology. But that's not all. Aston Martin has also introduced tube fins to their calipers, highlighted in an electrifying shade of yellow as they relentlessly pursue improved performance. Ferrari, a name synonymous with speed and style, is also making waves with their extensive changes for the 2023 season. In a bid to keep up with their competitors, they too have incorporated a fairing around the brake disc, resulting in a necessary shift in the caliper's position. Now situated further in front of the brake disc, this move has also necessitated a reconfiguration of the pipework responsible for delivering cool air into the caliper housing. Two pipes are now feeding cool air to each side of the caliper fairing, a setup that's sure to turn heads on the track. But the changes don't stop there. Ferrari has also altered the design of their brake disc, tweaking both the number and position of the drill holes. Gone is the full-width diagonal 5-hole pattern of seasons past. Instead, the new X-shaped drill pattern, complete with a blazing yellow highlight, features a hole missing every 6 holes down. These changes are sure to keep fans on the edge of their seats as they watch the action unfold. It's not only the braking system, there's more to the Red Bull racing machine than meets the eye. Sure, it's got downforce for days, a slick DRS, and power to spare, but there's another aspect that sets it apart from the pack, its ability to maintain its ride in corners. But how does it do it, you ask? Well, according to insiders, it's all thanks to some seriously clever mechanical wizardry and suspension systems. See, Red Bull can run their car closer to the ground than others without risking damage to the plank or compromising turns. And this, my friends, is a big deal. It not only helps with performance gains, but it also gives the drivers confidence in the car's behavior under braking, turning, and acceleration. According to one expert, there are numerous aspects beyond aerodynamics that have come together to make the RB19 so darn strong. And when asked about the importance of the ride and consistent platform for the package as a whole, he didn't mince words. It is a contributing factor, he said, but it has to merge with the other aspects. Your aero map is developing, sure, but it has to work on track. And let's not forget the engine. It needs to be well accommodated and able to perform at its best. Plus, we need to give the driver a platform they can control. It's a complex merger of many items, my friends. Mind-boggling, isn't it? According to Red Bull's chief engineer, Paul Monaghan, the car's side is just one of many factors that contribute to its impressive performance, but it certainly plays a significant role. Mercedes, on the other hand, has struggled to find the right balance, oscillating between running too low and too high, and paying the price with compromised lap times. Aston Martin's performance director, Tom McAuliffe, knows all too well how crucial a stable aerodynamic platform is for lap time with these ground effect cars. Having to compromise on the car's damping and spring rates to tackle porpoising problems can seriously impact a team's performance, making it all the more important to nail the perfect ride height and suspension setup. It's fascinating to consider the clever suspension strategies that Red Bull may have implemented, especially since this is an area where teams were believed to have a level playing field. As part of the rule overhaul for the 2022 season, suspension systems were made much simpler, limiting the tools available to teams for customization. McAuliffe acknowledged that this made it harder to get the car running in the optimal window, saying, "The aero map will always want you to position the car in certain ways, and there are always compromises. Last year's car was quite challenging in that respect. This year's a little bit easier." However, Robson from Williams noted that the regulations have limited the amount of trickery teams can do with their suspension layout, even compared to 5 or 10 years ago. This has made it more challenging to tune out undesirable aerodynamic characteristics and requires a delicate balance of deciding when to give up downforce to get the desired characteristics. It's clear that the current regulations have made it difficult for teams to fully optimize their cars and find the right balance between downforce, ride stability, and consistency. But as we've seen with Red Bull's success, a team that can master these factors has a significant advantage on the track. The mystery surrounding how Red Bull has managed to dominate its rivals in the current F1 season has left many scratching their heads, while the team itself seems unfazed by the hype. According to the team's chief engineer, Paul Monaghan, they haven't made any massive leaps compared to last year, despite the apparent gap in performance. As Monaghan puts it, there was some initial anxiety heading into the first test and race, as they wondered if they were as competitive as they wanted to be. However, he credits the talent and expertise of the team in Milton Keynes for helping them create the best car they can. Of course, their success is measured by their competition, and if their rivals make a bigger stride forward, they could quickly fall behind. Monaghan emphasizes that they're not resting on their laurels and becoming complacent. In fact, as they saw in Saudi Arabia, a small error could result in fewer points than they hoped for, and the competition is always looking for opportunities to catch up. So, despite their current success, it's far from a done deal, and they need to remain vigilant and continue striving for improvement. So, what's the deal with Red Bull's braking system? Will anyone be able to catch up with them this season? We want to hear your thoughts on this hot topic, so drop us a comment below. And while you're at it, don't forget to show us some love by smashing that like button and hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already.